Omaha Club members, good morning. Chris Pollard, head baseball coach at Duke. I want to welcome you to our first ever Omaha Club webinar. Appreciate your patience as we got up off the ground this morning with a couple of technical difficulties and some audio issues. If you're having any trouble hearing us or seeing us in this live webcam, we're going to put this on YouTube a little later this morning, so you'll be able to go back and watch the full broadcast. I want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for your tremendous and transformative support of this first ever Omaha Club initiative. This inaugural year of the program so far has netted 20 Omaha Club members en route to what we hope will be a total Omaha Club of 40 members, and right now we're over $300,000 into a goal of $400,000 that's going to provide unbelievable, meaningful support for our program on a day-to-day operating level as we compete to put this program in a position to go to the College World Series. We're 2 days away from the start of the season. It's gotten here unbelievably fast. I tell our guys every year when we have our team meeting in August, I say, look, you're going to blink and you're going to look up and the season's going to be upon you. And I'm always amazed how that happens to me too. 21 years of doing this. Every year it seems that the season gets here faster and faster, and we're now 48 hours away from game day. Really excited about this season and this group. Some special things. I enjoy coaching this group first and foremost. Just a really professional group of guys, and they've had a tremendous level of focus throughout the course of this first 7 months of this 2020 season as we think back to getting started with team workouts in August. I want to take a few minutes, you guys, because I know that some of you will be in town this weekend, and we want at some point over the course of this upcoming season for every single one of you as Omaha Club members to see us in person, to take advantage of coming and watching us play, supporting the team in that way with your presence. And there's a couple of benefits that come along with your Omaha Club membership. One, we've got some great gear headed your way. Jordan Betts, who's sitting here to my left, kind of manning the ship, has ordered some great polos. We're in the process of getting those embroidered. I know that he's reached out to collect a size run. We hope to be sending those out probably within the next week or so, along with some Omaha Club hats, golf-style hats that we want to send your way. And we want you guys to sport that gear when you're in and around the ballpark, when you're going to the grocery store, when you're out on the golf course. We want people to see that Duke baseball brand out and about. We want folks to stop you and ask questions about Duke baseball and how they can support us and stay connected with the program. And I think that's one of the strongest things that Duke University has is the power of the brand. And we appreciate you guys supporting us in that way. Also want to talk tickets. Anytime you're in town, anytime that you and your families are in town or you've got friends in town, I want you to reach out to me. It's always easy to get you on our coaches pass list on game days. We need really about 24 hours notice, but if you get to me early on a game day morning, we'll always try to accommodate. But we always want you in the ballpark anytime you're in the area. So please don't hesitate to email me at christopher.pollard@duke.edu, and we'll get you on that coach's pass list. You've also got priority seating, and specifically we've got access to the Duke suite at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park on the suite level of the DBAP. That's a great, comfortable, and climate-controlled area to be able to enjoy Duke baseball, and we want you guys to take advantage of that. Best way to access the suite, if you will, email Jordan at jordan.betts@duke.edu, and Jordan can make sure to work with our game day operations folks and the stadium managers down at the DBAP and make sure that you guys have access to the suite. You'll see Jordan there on a lot of occasions. You'll see Brad Barrett, our sport administrator, at the games. Really neat thing is you'll connect with and meet and get to know better a lot of our Duke coaches' families. They'll be up in the booth, and that's a great way to build that bond and expand that Duke baseball family. So those are three important aspects of your membership that we want you guys to take full advantage of. We plan to do these webinars on a bi-weekly basis. Certainly as we're entering ACC play, as we're nearing the midway point of the season, as we're closing in on tournament time, and then again come postseason, we hope and expect to be there and want to talk about opponents. And up first, we've got a tremendous challenge on our hands with a really talented Army team. I want to talk a little bit about the team, the Duke team, and where we are coming out of the preseason. And then I want to give you some insight on a really talented and a really well-coached Army team that we're going to be taking on this weekend. Go around the horn a little bit. Starting off on the mound, which I think is a real strength for us, you will be the first to hear our rotation for this coming weekend. We're going to start Bryce Jarvis on Friday night. Probably no surprise to any of you guys. I brought Bryce in the office yesterday. I think everybody that knows our program knew he was going to be taking the ball on Friday night, but I wanted to have that meeting with him in person yesterday, and I told him, I don't know in my coaching career if there's been a player that deserved the baseball more than Bryce to take the ball on opening night. What he's done in his first 2 years in this program, super regional appearances, regional MVP, taking the ball in big spots, being a big game arm for us. And then I also reflect back to last year and just how selfless he was as a pitcher to start, to come in relief. He closed out games and then started again in the same week, and he just did whatever we needed him to do to help propel this club into the postseason. So he's earned it. He looks great. Physically, he's in great shape. Velocity's up. You'll see the curveball a little bit more this year out of Bryce. He's really looking to become more of a four-pitch pitcher. We've got him slated for about 75 pitches on Friday night. Hopefully that gets us 4. Maybe we sneak 5 innings out of him before we turn it over to the bullpen. On Saturday, we're going to run a freshman out there. First time we've done that in this program in a couple of years. But Henry Williams is going to take the ball. 6'4" right-hander out of Connecticut. Lively fastball, really athletic frame and delivery. But he's got a true swing and miss curveball. And it's not a slider. It's a true curveball. Can throw the changeup for strikes. Has a chance to be a true 3-pitch guy. And throws strikes with all 3 pitches. I think he's going to only get better with time. And then in Game 3, we've called it TBA. We have a plan, but we don't want necessarily everybody outside of the program to know the plan. I told Jack Carey in our meeting yesterday, I brought him into the office, I said, man, you're this year's Bryce Jarvis. We need you to certainly be prepared to start, but we also have a lot of trust and confidence in you to come in and get the last 3 outs of a ball game if we need you to. So Thomas Gerard, who was a closer for us last year, who's been nominated as a preseason All-American, will be in that closer spot if it's a safe situation on Friday night. But this early in the season, we're not going to pitch him on back-to-back days. So if he pitches on Friday night, we will not bring him back on Saturday. And if it's a safe situation, we're going to go to Jack Carey, and he's going to take the ball. Could be kind of an extended save situation. You could see him out there possibly for 3 and maybe even 4 innings. But if we don't need him in a save role on Saturday, that he will take the ball in a starting role on Sunday and likely go for about 80 pitches or so. So you'll see him kind of flex in that way. And then Cooper Stinson becomes the 4th starter in this early season rotation. And met with Cooper yesterday. If Jack Carey does come in relief earlier in the weekend, you're going to see Cooper in that starting role on Sunday. But if Jack's able to take his start on Sunday, you'll see Cooper take the ball on Tuesday versus a really talented William and Mary team that's very offensive. I like our depth in the bullpen. I mentioned Thomas Gerard in the closer's role. I think of all the things that this team brings to the table, we've got 7 or 8 guys out of the bullpen that throw a lot of strikes, can control the running game. That's going to be vitally important this weekend as I start to talk about Army. But you're going to see a lot of interchangeable parts. And I don't even know that we know just yet who will be the first guy out of the pen on Friday night. A lot of that's going to be dictated by the timing of the game, when it is, and what the score looks like. But certainly Mac Dockman's been tremendous in that role over his first 2 years in the program. Eli Herrick you saw in that role last year. Matt Mervis, who's been in that role a little bit for us in his first 3 years in the program, feels really good, probably the healthiest he's been in a couple of years. Aaron Beasley has had a great preseason. Marcus Johnson, a freshman, has really come on of late. Kyle Sally could be a guy that develops into a left-handed specialist and is in there in a lot of one-inning stints versus a heavy left-handed lineup. So you're going to see a lot of different parts. Another guy to throw out there as a name to keep an eye on this weekend is Jimmy Loper, a redshirt freshman who missed all of last year with Tommy John surgery, but is feeling good this year. And he falls in that category. He commands the strike zone really, really well, puts 3 pitches in the zone, and also is very good at controlling the run game. Gives you a little bit about what to expect from a pitching standpoint. Mike Rothenberg is going to be behind the plate for us to start. We have tremendous depth behind the plate with Rothenberg. Rudy Maxwell backed him up last year and is back. We have a healthy Chris Dutra this year, and that's been a big shot in the arm. Chris brings power. He brings another stabilizing force behind the plate. He can bounce out and play some outfield. And he brings a definite level of toughness. And then Chad Knight and Matt Steinbeiser also provide valuable depth back behind the plate as we swing around the horn towards first base. Matt Mervis will get the start on Friday. Chris Crabtree and Britt Fuller are both great options at first base behind Matt. You'll see all 3 of those guys play a big role in terms of swinging the bat for us. Likely to see Crabtree a lot throughout this weekend in a DH role because Army is going to run a lot of right-handed arms at us. Moving over to second base, that's maybe the one position where we've still got a lot of indecision heading into the weekend. Will Hoyle, who's a redshirt sophomore, along with freshman Grant Norris, are both going to see time there early. Whether it's a straight platoon or not, I think remains to be seen, but you may see Will a little more against right-handers. You may see Grant a little more against lefties, or a pitcher that's going to feature a high percentage of fastballs because Grant's a really good freshman fastball hitter. You've got back the All-American at shortstop, Ethan Murray. I'm going to probably bat him second in the lineup. Erickson Nichols is Steady Eddie at third base. He's just a really solid, consistent guy who's back in a starting role for his second year in the program. Joe Loperfido moves out to the outfield. We're going to likely bat him in a leadoff spot. He'll play some center field. He'll also play some right. Whether he's more in center or more in right really depends on Chase Cheek's health. Chase is really, really close, really close. In fact, yesterday's scrimmage was the first scrimmage where he was able to run the bases full bore with no restrictions. Depending on how he feels today in practice and how he moves through practice over the next 2 days will determine whether he starts this weekend or whether we try to get him some pinch hit at bats to get him in there. What I can tell you is he's swung the bat as well in the preseason as anybody on our team. We're hoping to break another school record. Certainly this pitching staff's capable of doing that. And every strikeout, that's that much more money for Duke Children's Hospital. DukeKsForKids.com. We'll make sure you guys have a direct access to that link. We'd love for you to support this great cause. Last year, we raised close to $18,000 to support. And again, every penny of that money goes directly to Duke Children's Hospital. We gave a check to the hospital at the first pitch banquet. I know many of you were there. It was an awesome experience. I'd love to double the size of that check for next year's first pitch banquet. Yeah, it'd be great.
All right. Can you talk of any new rule changes for 2020 and how the sign stealing fiasco in MLB is impacting the college game?
Yeah, so JB just said what new rules are in place for 2020, and did the sign stealing scandal, the Astros and the Red Sox, and my opinion, several other major league teams, everybody, JB just said, but those two got caught, so they're the ones that get talked about the most. Yeah, it's had a big trickle down impact on college baseball. If you follow the sport at the college level, certainly over the last decade, you've seen the catcher wearing the armband, kind of like the quarterback armband, and getting the pitch call from the bench on that armband. Now in our sport, you're seeing a movement to where the pitcher is going to be able to wear that armband and the infield is going to be able to wear that armband. So now when the pitch is relayed from the bench, it goes out to not only the catcher but to the entire infield and the pitcher at one time. And what this eliminates, you guys, is it eliminates the catcher giving a signal between his legs. With the access of technology, the expansion of technology in our sport, and specifically cameras in center field that live stream to the dugout. When signs go down between a catcher's legs, they're being picked up by a center field camera, and that camera feed is going back to a monitor somewhere near the dugout, which is allowing the team to see those signs and relay that information to the hitter at the plate. That's what was happening with the Astros, the Red Sox. I can tell you that there's a strong feeling that that's also happening at the college level, and this is a move to circumvent that and eliminate the worry that signs are being provided to the hitter, illegally. So that's a big change that you'll see in our sport, and we're one of the teams that's going to have our entire infield wearing the wristband. Should hopefully also speed up games, and we've been guilty. Duke's been guilty of not playing the fastest brand of baseball, and I'd love for us to shed that reputation.
Can you tell us a little bit about Army this weekend, Coach?
For sure. Really talented club. They were in the NCAA postseason last year. I think it's 3 out of the last 4 or 4 out of the last 5 years Army's been in the postseason. They're first and foremost extremely well coached. Jim is one of my favorite people. Jim Foster is one of my favorite people in college baseball. Little backstory on the relationship there. When Andrew C., who was a pitching coach for us here at Duke, my first 3 years at Duke, when he left to take the pitching coach position at Clemson, actually interviewed Jim to come down and be the pitching coach at Duke. At the time, he was the pitching coach at Boston College, and he was doing unbelievable things with their pitching staff. 2 of the guys that were on his staff at BC at that time are now in the big leagues, to give you an idea of how good he is at developing pitching. But his teams are smart, they're tough, and they're competitive. They return a lot back positionally off of last year's team. 8 out of 9 starters are back. Preseason Patriot League Player of the Year, Jacob Hurtubise, is back in the outfield, can really, really run. 45 stolen bases last year. They've got over 100 returning stolen bases, and that's why it's going to be really important to control the run game. Giason's back at third base. They have their entire outfield back, and it can really scoot. You're going to have a hard time having a ball drop in that outfield because they can really cover some ground. So we know we're going to have to account for team speed. We know we're going to have to really account for the run game. They're going to be a veteran club that doesn't get themselves out a lot. So everything we get from a pitching standpoint we'll have to earn. The big unknown with their club, you guys, is they lost a ton of arms. They've got Bartoli back, who was one of their top relievers. We anticipate he's going to move into the starting rotation. Right-hander with a fastball and a really good changeup. But they lost their 3 weekend starters and their closer. So they lost over 80% of their innings on the mound. That can be a little tricky for us because it makes it really difficult to game plan for guys that we don't have a lot of video on. And so we're going to be a little bit flying blind in terms of what we can expect to see from their pitchers. If they're young guys, we got to apply pressure to them. That's the bottom line. I know this about Coach Foster. He is really adept at getting guys ready to go in and compete. So whoever they run out there, they're going to throw strikes, they're going to be able to put a changeup in the zone, and they're going to have really good mound presence. And they're going to make you beat them. They're not going to beat themselves.
Absolutely. Great question here from George. As we get more and better recruits each and every year, product of success, right? How do you distribute more? How does that work with more competition and playing time? And how do you keep everyone happy and engaged? College football has seen an explosion in transfers since the portal opened. How do we kind of attack this issue?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I struggle personally have a good answer for, right? Our sport, you're allowed to have a 35-man roster, 35-man active roster, which means that most programs carry a few more than 35 because of injury and red shirt. And so when you start the season with 35 and you can only put 9 on the field at the same time, that leaves a lot of really talented players who are hungry for playing time that they're not getting. I think we've got to be smart about using our depth, especially on the mound. We need to rotate a lot of guys. We shouldn't be in a position where we're contemplating pushing anybody past a pitch count here early in the year, because if we're doing that, then we're not working hard to develop this depth that we have and giving them really valuable game experience. But I believe in competition. I think that's why this preseason has been so good, is because you look at our depth, guys that are pushing for starts and pushing for time, they're making guys in front of them better. And the reality is that guys got to stay ready. They've got to be ready and to go in there and compete and execute on a moment's notice.
Since we probably won't do this for another week or two, can you kind of just give us previewing forward versus our opponents, William & Mary, Cornell, and into the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and what kind of opportunity that is for our program?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll reconnect in a couple of weeks, you guys. So we've got a test at hand this weekend, and then we welcome William & Mary to the DBAP midweek on Tuesday, a team that's known for their offense. They really swing the bats. The following weekend, we'll bring in Cornell. You guys will remember they've been down over the last couple of years. I think last down in 2018, excuse me. You'll remember we had Kellen Urban, we had Brian McAfee, we had Kyle Gallagher, all his fifth-year guys in our program out of Cornell. So there's been a really neat relationship between the two programs. We actually have their number one starter coming in as a fifth year next year, young man named John Natoli, a really talented arm. But that's a weird dynamic when you've got a guy that you're bringing into your program next year, and here in a little over a week, he's going to be trying to beat us on our home field. And he's absolutely good enough to do it. We'll have our work cut out for us against, he's arguably the top fifth-year candidate for next year in the country. So that's one to keep an eye on next Friday night when we host Cornell. Then we have a very quick turnaround on Monday with Air Force Academy at the DBAP. Coach Kaz has done such a great job with their program and where they are right now. And then 2 days later, we'll be jumping on a plane to fly up to Minneapolis for the ACC versus Big Ten Challenge. It'll be us, Carolina, and State, the three triangle ACC programs, all hopping a flight to Minneapolis to take on Minnesota, the host, Purdue, and Iowa. And a lot of people think Minnesota is a sleeper as an Omaha club. They're flying out to play Oregon this weekend, so we'll know a little bit more about them. What I can tell you about Minnesota, they've got one of the top pitching prospects in the country, a kid named Max Meyer, who's going to be a first-round draft pick for him. We're sure hoping he throws on Friday, and then we don't see him in that Saturday matchup. We get their number 2, but time will tell on that. Then we get back here and we play Campbell, and then we'll welcome a nationally ranked Florida State team, which starts an absolute gauntlet of ACC games in the month of March. So super thankful to you guys for your support. This Omaha club is special, and what it's going to do to keep moving the needle for this program is special. And I can't wait to see you guys out at the ballpark this spring.